Yesterday has to be one of the most tragic days in America's history. We've never seen that before. We've never seen rioters storm our Capitol and take the place over. It was disgraceful. It was so unbecoming of what we as a nation are supposed to be all about. And I'm sure that in many people, it raises the question, what do we do now? And as God's people, we in particularly need to be asking ourselves, what do we need to be doing now? Kind of reminds me of that situation back when Saul was being removed as king and David was being installed. Everyone was trying to figure out, what do we do? Well, in 1 Chronicles chapter 12, verse 32, the chronicler tells us that there were men of Issachar who understood the times and they knew what Israel was to do. You know, I can't help but think that the reason they knew what to do was because they had an intimate knowledge of God's word and God's truth. They had studied it, they had meditated upon it, and they knew what Israel was to do during that time of transition. Well, we're no longer in a time of transition. At 3:30 in the morning, Vice President Pence, acting as the President of the Senate, declared Joe Biden to be the next President of the United States. The decision's done. It's over. Now, we can sit and say, I don't like that decision. That's not who I was for. I mean, there might be some among us that even are saying, oh, it was all rigged. There was all kinds of cheating. Whatever. To be real honest, no matter how Joe Biden got into that position, whether we liked it or not, whether we were for it or not, he's now going to be in that position, and God's people now need to know how to respond. Well, two things. We need to pray. We need to pray for our president, our future president. 1 Timothy chapter 2, verses 1 and 2, Paul told the people in Ephesus to pray for the kings who were in the leadership at that time. That particular king that he was talking about was Nero. We're to pray for our leaders. We're to pray for our future president who will take office come January 20th. You know what else? We also need to get ready to be submissive and supportive. Romans chapter 13 is very clear about the role of government and how we are to obey that government. I mean, there are very, very few times when we as God's people are called to be disobedient to the government. We need to assume a posture that we are going to be people who are praying and submissive to the leaders that God has allowed to come into office. The decision's done. It's time to now step up and be God's people. We understand the times, we understand the situation, and now we need to remember what God has told us to do. Hey, I hope you're ready to have a good weekend, and I want to encourage you to plan on coming to church Sunday. If you don't have a church home, I would love to see you come to Fellowship Bible Church. I'm going to be sharing a little bit about what Fellowship Bible Church is all about, just sharing about some of our core values. We're going to be starting a sermon series here in a week or so, but this Sunday we're just going to basically go back and re-examine why Fellowship Bible Church exists, what we're all about, and what are the core values that we are seeking to instill in people. So come join us. We start at 10:45 in person. If you have to be distant, we are live streaming, and that begins at 10:45. It's available then, but it's also available on demand anytime thereafter. Just go to our website, fellowshipbible.net. Hey, God bless you. Hope you have a great weekend.